Hi everyone. For our 8th grade Elevate group, students are finishing up work that they had been working on yesterday with linear expressions. Today they're focused on factoring and expanding those linear expressions. And so you will see they're continuing work with the distributive property as well as work with finding the greatest common factor or factoring expressions. So you are going to spend about 6 minutes in a teacher model solidifying the work that you did from yesterday. Based on what students demonstrated, you may see that students probably struggled with both of these skills, whether it be distributive property or greatest common factor, or one or the other. And so we want to make sure that we are stamping and addressing any misconceptions students may have had from the previous day so that they can experience success today. And so modeling the distributive property. The only thing that's different today is that students will be working with fractions and decimals and having to simplify for the best answer, right? So students are having to distribute 3/8 times 4/5, which is right here. And then students will have to multiply 3/8 times 8/9, which is right here. When we did 3/8 plus 4/5, we got 12/48. And then when we did 3/8 times 8/9, we got 24/72. And then students will have to simplify. So again, there's no space necessarily to list out the factors, but students will have to rely on the work that they have been doing with greatest common factor in order for them to simplify these fractions. So they would have to ask themselves, what is the greatest common factor that goes into both 12 and 40? And that number is 4, right? So 12 divided by 4 gives me 3, and then 40 divided by 4 gives me 10. So 12/40 is simplified to 3/10, don't forget. And then 24 over 42, the greatest common factor is 8. So 24 divided by 8 gives me 3, and then 72 divided by 8 gives me 9. So our simplified or expanded expression, is 3/10 u plus 3/9. And then the second model that you are going to do is around factoring 24g and 56h completely. Remembering from yesterday that when a term includes variables, that variable is part of the factor list, right? Because 24g means 24 times g, so it is a factor of that term. G is a factor of that term. So I went ahead and in my factor list, I listed the variables first for each of these, right? So same questions as yesterday. Once they list out the factors, what factors do they have in common? I've highlighted the common factors in yellow. So they all have 1, 2, 4, and 8 in common. Then following up by asking kids, what is the greatest common factor, out of that list? And students will say 8 is the greatest common factor. And so we then know that 24g can be broken up into 8 times 3g, right? 24 is 8 times 3, but there's a g attached to it, so it's 3g, right? And then 56h can be broken up into 8 times 7h. So because both of these new multiplication sentences have 8 in them, we are going to pull the 8 out on the outside of the parentheses. And then inside the parentheses, we are going to keep our 3g plus 7h. Then we'll launch students into a 3-minute turn and talk where they are focused on some error analysis. We want to know whether Seema factored this expression correctly. And what you will find out is that Seema did not, because what she did was she factored out an R. However, in this expression, both of these terms do not have R, only the first one has R. So from there, we're going to give students about 10 minutes to work on questions 1 through 8. For questions 5 through 8, there are some decimals, there are some fractions. If you have calculators in the room, feel free to let students use them to support them. So it just doesn't serve as a barrier to knowing whether they know how to do the skill. Their math may be off, or it might take them longer to solve the problem if they have to do the arithmetic by hand. But you want to know, do they know how to distribute? Do they know the steps to take to even put in the calculator? And so for this lesson, because there are so few questions to practice, there's no exit ticket.